And yeah, so ceremonial activities, welcome. That's maybe it. Approval of agenda or changes to the agenda. So can someone move to approve the agenda from last month? Or agenda, sorry, minutes from last month, that's later. Okay, the agenda is good. Any changes? Juan, did you have changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Moving to approve it.
I went from a meeting to a kid thing to this meeting, so I'm a little all over the place right now. Great. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda or anything they'd like to add? Nope. Okay. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Nope. Okay. And I don't think we have any presentations this time. I think mostly we'll probably be discovering we'll mostly spend the most time on the Economic Recovery Task Force. There's some updates from my end and a few questions from them in the committee applications. So would someone like to, I skipped ahead. Would someone like to approve the meeting minutes from last month? To move to approve them. Wanda, okay, great. And then any corrections from the minutes that anyone wants to note? No? Okay. And I guess we'll start with you, Chris, on committee applications.
Okay, so we have received 11 applications.
Great. And
with some of these applications, the applicants are indicating one of two are they have the option to have first choice, second choice, third choice, and so on. So whereas 11 of them have indicated an interest in TDAB, a few of them have indicated interest in other committees as well. And so the next step in the process will be that we will do a council report with the folks that have applied, and it's council's prerogative to select from that list that we put to them the members of the advisory board. So that's our next step, sending it on to council for them to pick those. I think though that there was a space created for a youth. Am I correct?
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Did we get any youth applications?
Which means that I think we only had one youth. Anyway, the choice with the youth is minimal. So what will happen is that we will point out this is the youth applicant, and then these are the others, and then after we hear back from council, then we can announce those individuals that will be sitting on the board.
One thing I wanted to ask everybody about the committee applications was, do you think it would be useful if we kind of identified like knowledge gaps that we saw on our own committee? Like if there's like a specific industry we think, or like, you know, a general industry that we just think we could use some more representation from or anything like that? Or is that kind of, would that be like not appreciated, or what do you think?
I think it's a good idea. The thing is that I think we would have to, that would be useful in putting out the application. So as we open the application, we say we're looking for individuals who might have a background in, and then we name all of the areas that we're short. And then people could then say, okay, oh, well, I'm interested. But to develop the criteria after we have received the list, we would, well, if we're lucky and they match up, then fine. But if we have no one from the list that fits the criteria we're looking for, we're still back at square one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was just thinking more just to help council when looking at the application, since it's not something we decide at all, just in case, you know. I don't know, does anyone have any suggestions on, like, I personally think we could probably use another manufacturing representative, like, or someone who's in, like I'm kind of the only, from my knowledge, well, Wanda, you kind of, with your work experience, have some experience with that kind of stuff, but I think that I personally think it could be really useful to have someone that has like a very strong manufacturing background on the board. Like I have somewhat, but I mean, I haven't worked on a shop floor, so that's an out for me. But
Good
anybody
idea.
have any suggestions like that? Or, I mean, we only have 3 items on the agenda, so we have time to talk, guys. This is like never happened.
I totally agree, Michelle. I think that we should look at the diversification and you know, small versus large, even from a company size and impact. And I'm happy to reach out if we want to reach out, especially for the manufacturing sector.
So Jacob, you will have to help us here. We have a cutoff. We have a deadline by which we have to have applications. The applications are in. So how would that work for reaching out to anybody else? How would that work, Jacob?
As far as I know, there will also be an ad that goes out in the springtime as well. So we could mention something then as well. And from the, I can't recall what we have, Chris. I didn't get a chance to look too thoroughly at some of the applications, but you could also note that in your report to council. That's maybe something that's lacking, which may.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list the some of the criteria that we're looking at for, and then in the report to council, we say TDAB has identified some gaps as this. These individuals and seem to have those skills already. So we kind of match it up for council. So so far I have small versus large manufacturing. What were some of the other ones that we're suggesting?
Anyone else have any suggestions?
I would suggest food and beverage manufacturing.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd even suggest downtowns. Anybody from any of the downtowns, whatever their capacity is.
Okay.
GB.
So, okay.
And I mean, it would probably be good to add a recurring, like maybe to a February meeting every year. This is something we have a small discussion about for when new applications open for the year. Kind of, it just might be good to have a standing yearly review of this as part of a regular month TDAB meeting once a year, just to we all kind of talk about it and just see, because as we know, like every year there's at least 1 or 2 new positions, and it would be really good to, I think we're probably the best group to advise what we might be lacking. So
Right, good. Any other criteria? So far we have small versus large manufacturing, we have food and beverage, we have downtown representation.
I'd just like to weigh in. I know this is a pickup from a previous conversation, and Jacob was kind enough to circulate the application that the municipality uses for volunteers. I actually would love to see a document created where we do an internal audit. I think there's several areas, as Michelle had said. Michelle, you have a duality where you represent manufacturing, but you also represent a venue. So I think, you know, some of us represent a couple of portfolios. Maybe we're connected to other volunteer roles. Like for myself, I volunteer as a liaison with the Simcoe District Chamber. Cindy, I believe you're also a liaison to a chamber as well. So just to kind of track that equity, I think could be helpful if we actually created a document.
for sure that, and I now do remember that we discussed this once upon a time, but never did anything with it. But I think that would be a really great, it's a great idea.
Well, and I think the only thing I recall, Jacob had mentioned that we have to be very respectful of privacy concerns. So really, I mean, these are individual applications that are directed and not shared with other committee members. So I think that was the piece that we would have to all agree that is something we would want to share to address that privacy piece and that protocol. So if everyone feels there's value there.
I'm not too sure I understand, Wanda, what you're getting at there? When you say privacy piece, how would we violate that? I don't know.
Well, I recall it was, and Jake.
Sorry, is anybody else hearing Wanda?
No, I think she's breaking up a little bit. I'll just write a message to make it a message.
Okay. She's freezing.
Maybe if she turns her video off.
Yeah.
Probably if she turns her video off, that will help.
Am I back online?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just recall that that was mentioned, that
Mhm.
within the application, that we would have to be respectful of a privacy piece. So that information would be, we would agree, the individual would agree to release that information. And it might be more specific to just a sector that you represent.
Yep.
We're not looking at sharing the actual application. We're just trying to track our network and our equity, right? If we're looking at summarizing, I mean, for me, I represent 6 municipalities, so that might be of interest, right? Where I can connect outside of Norfolk, if that's of value with anything that is generated from this committee, so.
Yeah, so I think, Chris, the idea was we can't really share the applications, but I think if we were to do I think when a new member joins the committee, they can sign off on kind of like a skill set audit. Because I mean, the application has that information, but it can't be shared. So they're not like circulated to us, obviously. But I think that it would really be good. I think it's a great idea. So would that be something, does the county have anything like that they've used for other things that we could circulate maybe following this meeting? Just so we kind of can get an idea of anybody, of everyone's like, you know, connections, skill sets, strengths, like all those kind of things.
So just to be clear that the application is one application form for the county for all committees.
Yeah.
So the same application is going to every single committee that are for people who want to apply. So in the report to council, we do kind of go through the application and kind of highlight the interests and so on. So for example, it would say Wanda, and it would list all the different associations, organizations that she has been affiliated with and so on. And yes, we send that to council. And so that when they're choosing, at least that helps them to decide what members they're going to choose. So on the application, we get a lot of that information, and that information is put into the report to council, and that is what council uses to select.
Yeah, so since we can't really probably share that information because it's the application and that's really like for council, I think when someone joins the committee, it would be great to kind of get something that they're willing to release, like that they're willing for all of us to see. So we kind of have that, like, I think that's a great idea, Wanda. So would it be possible for Jacob, for you to circulate something like that? If you guys have something like that, or if anyone has an existing document that they've completed like that on a committee they've been part of, that would be awesome. So we don't have to create one from nothing.
Yeah, I'll ask around. I'm not sure, you know, relatively being in a short time in this position, but I can ask a few of the different boards and committees, and even my coworker Owen, just to see if there is something like that. And I'm sure it wouldn't be too difficult to get something created as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that would be really great. And then just whenever it's ready, maybe it could be something that we all look at and complete, if everyone's comfortable with that. And then it would be great if we could do something that I really think if it was something that was kind of yearly done or updated, because I mean, everyone's skill set also at the same time does change with new committees you're part of, new groups you're part of, and things like that. And then council can have that for us, the existing committee members as well, when they go to make the decisions, which I think could be very helpful.
Good idea.
Great.
So it's V. Could I just clarify the intent of the two different parts here? So I'm hearing the audit part, which is the once somebody is joined, and that makes a lot of sense. And then so does the other part, which is identifying the skill gaps within the committee at any given time with the new intake of applicants. So for this current intake, is the intent to do that matching, or is that for the spring? I heard another spring intake.
When are they considering the applications? The timelines might just be too short at this time. At this point, it might just be an idea now. When are they actually deciding?
Well, so we have the resume, and I think it's up to us when we send the staff report, but obviously we want to do it sooner rather than later. I think there's some spaces on the committee, right?
Yeah, I think it would be good to get them filled. Honestly, we're almost at the end of the year, so this might just be something that we do for the next round, maybe. Right. But I mean, we have identified a couple different, at least from what we know of each other, like superficially what we know of each other. Those, like, I would agree with everything everyone said about the different, like with food and beverage and downtowns. That would be great as recommendations. And I mean, that's probably as simple as we can stay for now, just to not hold anything up. And then I think that it would be great to do that for the intake in the spring.
Okay. Thank you.
Quick question, Jacob. When for these applicants, when are they scheduled to join? Is it January 1st?
I believe in the new year is when their 2-year term would begin. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost sure.
Yeah, sounds great. So maybe it's something we do in the January meetings every year to just, get to know each other too. Wouldn't be a bad exercise. Cool. Anyone else have any questions for Chris about the committee applications or any feedback? No? Okay. So we'll go on to the Economic Recovery Task Force. I'll give a little overview from our previous meeting that we had. Does anybody have any specific questions to start off, or do you want me to just kind of give you an overview of what our previous meeting was? I will start with that. I'm just waiting for my minutes to open up so I don't forget anything important. Okay, so our last meeting gave us a lot more direction on kind of what is it going to be, what the purpose of the Economic Recovery Task Force is going to be, and a lot of people felt a lot more useful after the last meeting, I would have to say. We spent a lot of time discussing kind of how we're moving forward and what we're going to be doing and setting expectations of what our responsibilities will be. We talked a lot about funding that's out there, funding that will come, and our basic goal is to get businesses back online and use the knowledge in that group with ideas on how to do that. And we're going to be our next meeting in November will be focusing on prioritizing initiatives and ideas within the team, and looking at the feedback that we've got from other committees that I'm going to be asking you guys about after this. We talked about just kind of it was more of a general discussion on, the different knowledge people have and everything like that. And then we also talked quite a bit about the economic status of Norfolk County. We kind of went as a little bit of a round table, telling kind of how anecdotal evidence of how the pandemic has affected the different industries that people represent on the board, and asked for some further feedback on certain industries that there wasn't a ton of information on the economic impact on yet. Specifically, I think we talked a little bit about the agricultural sector, looking for some more feedback on how it's financially impacted them, because it's a little harder to tell than a lot of other industries, like restaurants that were shut down for 7 months. So the one big takeaway from this was to go back to our individual boards that we sit on and groups that we're part of, to get some feedback on some questions that they have. And Chris is going to compile them and circulate them to the task force members. And we're just kind of discuss them with people we know in different industries to try and get as wide of ranging feedback on them as we can. There was also some information about funding that Norfolk County has received for tourism recovery. And Chris reviewed a little bit of the projects that'll be sponsored by Norfolk County with those funds. Chris, do you want to give a little bit of information to TDAB about that?
Yeah,
Please?
I could do that. Yep, for sure.
Thanks.
We received $245,000 towards tourism promotions for the county. And so far we have spent some of it on some gateway signs that were stalled and were put off and could not be done because of budget implications. We've been doing some shop local. The bulk of the promotions actually have been on shop local. So we right now is working with a number of the towns, Waterford, Delhi, and so on, and they are developing their radio ads for the Christmas shopping, shop local Christmas for the businesses. And we had some ads in the Simcoe Reformer. We ran ads for 7 weeks. Shop local, it was all hyper local. And then the only ad that we did that was outside of Norfolk was with Horizon Travel Magazine. We had 3 ads, 3 months running. We pulled the ad when the spike started. So what will happen is that we're going to be asking Insert to put forward their ideas as to how we should be spending the remainder of the funds. So far, between the gateways, we have engaged the services of a company to do a branding, community branding. That alone was $50,000, and I think we will have some discussions here as well. We just had the meeting this week, yesterday, about Friday, about the outline, what we're going to be doing, and so on. So we're in the phase now where we're gathering information about visitors and some of the things that we've done and some of the brands that we have running and so on, to kind of zone in on just one brand that we can all identify with for tourism. So that's where we're at with the spending. We have about $50,000 to $60,000 that we are budgeting to be spent between now and the end of February. It was supposed to be spent by the end of December. The ministry have given us an extension to the end of February. And so TDAB might be asked to submit at least one tourism promotional idea for Norfolk County that we would take into consideration. And then at Insert, we would review all of those proposals that come in for tourism and then make a decision as to how the rest of the funding will be spent. Zvi, did you want to say anything on that, or that kind of covers it?
The only thing I'd love to add, but maybe towards the end in other business, is actually talk a little bit about the branding project and the scope, engagement opportunities. So right. with the chair's approval, I'd love to chat about that a little bit at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Awesome.
So that's Sorry, I'm just checking if there's anything from the minutes of that meeting that I missed reviewing with you guys. Yeah, no, that's it pretty much. Does anybody have any questions about the status of the Norfolk County Economic Recovery Task Force or anything like that?
Michelle, it's Laura.
Hi.
Originally, you talked about that committee, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm confusing something else. I thought that there was that you were looking for shovel-ready projects, and that
Yeah, so I guess the whole idea was we were guessing what the government money was going to be. And the government money didn't come as readily or for what they were thinking, I believe. So the shovel-ready projects that we discussed were like, basically the first meeting was like, which roads should we fix? And that was like all that was really on the shovel-ready list. And then we're just, because of the way that the funding is being rolled out, I believe, we're now focusing on more long-term semi-shovel-ready projects, I guess, is kind of how it's looking. And we're talking about our November meeting is going to be kind of a list, I think, from the county and discussing ideas and things like that. But since we don't really know what the strings attached to the money is going to be or what the money is going to be, at this point, it's just kind of preparing ourselves. Zvi, do you have more information than I do? Please, that would be great.
Yeah, just a little bit more context on the consultations themselves. So this is initial consultation that we wanted to get out quickly and be able to engage the boards and our partners from the various business organizations, the BIAs, the chambers, excuse my voice, the chambers, the BIAs, etc. There will be a subsequent consultation in the new year, early in the new year, that will be looking at a broader consultation with the community, with business organizations, and that will include a framework for prioritizing and organizing these projects, some of which may be smaller projects, but some of which may be larger, more established or more longer term ambitious type projects. And that's where some of those capital projects may come in, and they may actually align with some of the shovel-ready capital projects that the municipality is looking at doing. But I guess the key message is this is one consultation of many, and this may the NSERT may go on for 1 to 2 years. So really, there will be opportunities for all of those types of projects going forward.
Great. Much better answer than mine. Thank you for stepping in, Zvi. Laura, does that kind of help you with does that answer?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any questions? Amanda, we're just on the discussion of the Norfolk County Economic Recovery Task Force.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm late.
No, that's obviously no problem. So any more questions regarding that, or just wait for my next update when there's more information I hope to give you? I lost my place, TDAB agenda. Okay, yes.
Yeah, I have my hand up, so.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see your hand. I can see the hand on the little dots below, but not the faces. Okay.
I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Chris, who's distributed the inquiry and to Z to the Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce. And there is a collection process going on right now regarding ideas and recommendations that will be filtered back to the task force. And I believe the deadline is October 31st. I don't know if Chris has anything else to add on that, but good to see.
So the same email that Wanda is referring to is probably what we will be moving on to next in our discussion here. It's those questions in the email that we're looking for some feedback from the board members. I had sent a clarification as well because some of the organization presidents thought that they had to consult with the membership, but that's what we're going to be doing next year, as V just mentioned. So what we will get into now from TDAB is a discussion around those questions that we would like some feedback for NSERT.
Great. Yeah, that was what I just opened the email. So I guess we can probably move to that because I don't think there's any more questions on questions on the Economic Recovery Task Force. So if I guess we'll, okay, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Wanda, can you try putting your hand up again so I can see if I can see it or how I wasn't noticing it? Okay, I can't see it on your face, but I can see it on the list of people. So I'll just pay attention there instead. Okay, sorry, thank you. So I guess we'll start with the questions. So this is just for feedback to the Norfolk County Economic Recovery Task Force that we're looking for by this Friday. Jacob, would you mind taking some notes on this? Would that be okay? Or whoever, wait, do you take notes? Is that right?
Yeah, that's literally what I'm here for.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Could you just take some notes on this and then just email them over to me and I'll, or email them to Chris. I guess he's probably putting it all together.
Sure.
And then we'll go. Thank you. Awesome. So the first question is, what specific actions or projects can the county undertake to lessen the greatest obstacles facing your industry right now? So maybe we should start as a little bit of a roundtable, see how long that takes, if we have enough time to do all 4 questions, if anyone has feedback on that. Is that okay? I'll just say your name and then you can just say yes or no. Just if you have feedback, say it. Otherwise, just say no feedback, okay? So I'll just reiterate the question. What specific actions or projects can the county undertake to lessen the greatest obstacles facing your industry right now? And let's start with Amanda, because you're at the top of my list.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to put my Ride the Bind hat on. We actually shut our business down a couple weeks ago just because we were worried about the climbing number of cases, and to see the numbers climb even more, I feel like we did the right thing. Yeah, what can the county take? Just helping keep like tourism and the wineries and just Norfolk County on top of mind, whether people don't feel comfortable touring around right now, but just to keep it in the top of mind. Maybe that's a destination I want to visit in, 2021, when hopefully things are a lot better. And then how do you do that? I think social media, I think maybe email, newsletter, just kind of getting it out there on the internet might be some great and kind of low cost ways of doing that. Yeah, that's all
Great.
I have.
Thanks, Amanda. Chris, you probably don't want to, you can provide your own feedback to yourself. So we'll go to Cindy next.
Hi. Okay, I'm going to answer for both the retail and the real estate side.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny. We've actually been doing really good. And I'm going to say that the biggest support has come from actually out of town, whether it's buying a house or whether it's shopping. It's a lot of the out of town people are looking for small towns to go to that they can walk around outside safely. And they know that us small businesses can handle, we tell them, only 10 in the store or 5 in the store, whatever, put your mask on, sanitize, blah, blah, blah. So they feel safe walking around. But like I say, it's been so great. I'm actually super impressed, and everyone's been very, very behave and everything, no matter where they come from. Where my biggest disappointment and where I feel like we need to have projects or reinforcement or whatever is from our own councillors and our mayor. They have been absent. I am so disappointed with them. Not one of them has come ever to either any businesses. I'm in 2 towns plus the real estate. We've never seen anybody coming to say, hey, here's a hand sanitizer that says Norfolk County on it. Are you guys doing okay? Glad to see you're open, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just, I feel like we need to have our own support us at a government level. The people have been great, but the government sort of has been absent.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Thank you. That's great feedback. Laura, oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Michelle, I think what we were looking, I really appreciate Cindy's feedback, and you know what? These are the things that will help us to kind of understand what's happening on the ground. I think what we want though is if I had a magic wand, then I could do something for you that we can take up and run with to say, listen, let us get this done. That's the kind of suggestions we're looking for. something that's tangible that the insert committee can do something about, if you know what I mean.
So
So-
can I just further say, like
Yeah.
American Express, because I take that, they sent out to all businesses a huge box that had masks in it, some signage, a whiteboard that you could write a message on, and hand sanitizer. And you know what? Just getting that in a way felt like it was support. So,
Okay,
I mean, whether it's a care package that can be done for businesses.
Okay, perfect. Right. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Or a call from a councillor or mayor. I was going to say, I'm not going to put words into your mouth, Cindy, but I think that yours is actually a couple of very tangible things as well. That was some kind of contact from the county.
Yeah, and I mean, if they want to show up with a care package, if that's where you're going to spend the money, then that would be great too. Because we are all, like, you know, as businesses, they've like where I go get, this sounds funny, but where I go get my nails done, I'm like, holy crap, how much did you have to spend on those, you know, plexiglass things? Because they've got them all over, you know, everybody's like, we're going through hand sanitizer more than water, you know, nowadays. So even that little gesture of a care package would be so much appreciated. I can't even say.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Cindy.
No problem.
Laura, do you have any?
Yeah, I had some suggestions, and I think Cindy and Amanda did have some tangibles. Like at least when I heard what they were talking about, I heard some suggestions, because I think, you know, the social media is a tangible, right, for the county to invest in some advertising. You know, like I know one of the things that they did in Brantford, because my sister owns a small business in Brantford, is the city did videos, right, and they did pictures, and then those have been on the website, and they've done like contests where it's like, win a $50 Ride the Vine gift card. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, that's something that gets you good press. And just kind of echoing on that as you were talking, Amanda, I was thinking, like, even if you are doing advertising and maybe have a coupon for next year, right? Or book a gift card for Christmas, right? Like something like that helps businesses with cash flow, but it also helps them remember what's going to happen next year, right? And things like that. And I totally agree with Cindy when she said to touch base, because I know that I've been trying to reach companies and touch base with them. And, you know, maybe if I do 1 or 2 new ones a week, but they're all just happy to have someone talk to you, right?
Mhm.
And just say, you know what are you missing? And sometimes it's just, they just want someone to talk to, right? Like sometimes it's not a solution. But the other thing is, you know, to make sure that they're aware of PPE that's needed. They're aware of the loans. There was a change in the loans today, which I didn't realize was a barrier, and it would impact a lot of the smaller companies, was that if you use a personal account, like checking account or banking account, you weren't eligible for the loan. But apparently that's changed as of today. That was one of the legislations that they brought up from the federal government. So, I mean, just staying on top of all of those funding things has been a barrier. And I know I've worked with chambers all over and people that are kind of outside of my regular sphere of influence on just some of that. Keeping on top of the legislation, and Chris certainly gets some of my emails, but I'm happy to share that information as well. And just kind of thinking creatively and asking people like Cindy and Amanda and Wanda and everyone else, like, what do they want to see, or what have they seen in other areas, and what are other areas doing that works? But I think there's a lot of little things that can be done that'll have a huge impact. And just to push on the PPE too is, you know, if you're looking for Ontario source, we do have websites for that. And there is certainly a lot of PPE that's produced in Ontario, and it's continuing to grow. So we always love to see that, especially from a long-term sustainability point of view as well. So that's my rant.
Great. Thanks so much, Laura. Yeah, that's great. Okay, Nick.
Sure. So yeah, just building off of some of the ideas that have been floated around already. You know, I agree with Cindy about that care package type thing. I mentioned in a previous meeting about consistent signage. Maybe there's an opportunity to marry that with branding. Chris, you talked about getting you know, a brand or an image. So maybe that can go hand in hand with some of that consistent signage for customers as to, you know, what some of the protocols are for keeping customers safe. I'm thinking something I've reported on too a lot of the small businesses have pivoted or are pivoting to meet new demand for their products, or just shifting into different ways of retailing that. And actually, there are some companies that are expanding. I mean, it's actually interesting how many are expanding and looking for seed funding for that. So if there is potential to have some seed funding along that line, just to help them out with that.
Can you help me put my PPs
Okay,
on, please?
not right now. So the other thing, I'm not sure how things are going with applications to the county and permitting, those sorts of things. I know a while back we discussed if planning could look at, there's an online system where the applicants can see where the application is at and which department it sits with. And sorry, I have some.
Thank you.
It's only funny because her face keeps popping in like a ghost with a hood. It's just very funny.
Which is kind of scary. I probably
Very
should
on theme Halloween. I love it.
give my background, but so you can see what's really going on. Yeah, so what was I saying there? Yeah, so that permitting process. So there are some applications that are available that allows the applicant to see where their application is at, which department it sits with, and all the different departments can see where that application is, and how far along it is. Again, I don't know. I haven't heard how that process is going, like in the new environment. So it'd be good to get some feedback on that.
For sure.
So another thing people, it seems to me, are looking for is that one place to go where they can see if they're up to date on all the programs that are available. So, even something that would have, if you're a small business, small or medium-sized business, click here and then you can see what programs you might be eligible for. Yeah, that's what came to mind for me.
Great. Thanks so much, Nick. That's great. Okay, Nicole.
Just to build off of some of the other stuff that people have been contributing. I think with Christmas coming around the corner and the weather getting colder, people aren't wait in lines outside to get into some of our shops, or they're not going to have the time to wait, and we are restricted with how many people can be in each of the shops. So I think we're going to see a shift back to the online sales again. So it would be really great if the county can push the websites, or I know we had discussed at one point all the people who were part of the magazine before, having a spot online for people to go see what businesses they check out, like linking to people's websites and to different businesses that offer online sales and online delivery would be great. Or even if the county could organize some sort of delivery service for local businesses, that would be great, because I know there's still a lot of people who aren't leaving their homes or can't get out to the businesses. So if they had a way to stay connected, that would be great. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's great. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, Wanda.
I have provided feedback already, just to capture a couple of the ideas, very similar to Nicole. It was all about being able to reestablish that previous framework of regular communication. And I know at one point we had weekly newsletter blasts, and it really was a great mechanism to support local businesses that are ready to sell and they are open. we're looking for sort of specific recommendations. Establish and fund one staff member as a resource to resurrect that weekly newsletter and to circulate and communicate to your existing databases, and to shop buy local, set up a program for business owners to submit their own offer and to rotate those listings fairly. And the other was more of a private-public partnership, perhaps a tender request for proposal. Then again, heading back to what Nicole said, which is the delivery service. There's still some folks who want to shop local, whether or not it's buying gift certificates or buying food. They're not really mobile, so whether or not it's a delivery service, to purchase and shop for working with local business owners, and to establish a formula where business owners add a flat fee service charge, which could be directed back to the county for reimbursement. So that's
great.
what I got.
That's great. Thanks as always, Wanda. That's great. And Zvi, I assume you are as involved as can be in this committee, so you can also provide direct feedback to Chris. Nicole, your hand's up.
Yeah, sorry, I just had one more thing that I forgot to touch base on, which was the Dover Rocks boxes, which was the initiative that Mika Matthews had started at the beginning of COVID. I know that was a huge success for supporting local businesses, and I believe she's resurrecting it for the holiday season. I think if she could have the support from the county to get more towns involved, or to start one for different, like, it's a lot for her to take on. It's a purely voluntarily does, but to have some support from either other towns or from the council to help out with that would be huge in supporting the whole community.
Yeah,
For
that's a really good example.
Yeah, I had a couple notes, I guess, because I didn't actually email in any stuff as well, but I totally, that's like absolute, like that was, I think, one of the best things to come out of Norfolk County during the pandemic, to be honest. The Dover Rocks box, she did an awesome job. I've been thinking for a long time in relation to like real estate, and I mean, we are selling a lot of small town real estate stuff lately. I think an idea that Norfolk County could probably one day should probably do is a welcome to Norfolk pack, when that they could provide real estate agents with, of introducing them to places to shop local and to our local, like just places that they might go elsewhere for, but they can find here, to get them kind of shopping local earlier. I think that could be, it doesn't have to be anything really big, but I think that could be a really successful program, and that kind of feeds into the newcomers and welcoming kind of idea. I 100% agree with the multiple people that said the weekly newsletter that the county sends out should 100% be happening. It was really great. It was a great way to look like the county was supporting businesses in Norfolk County with the showcasing of the businesses. It was just a great way to look like we're supporting, you know, facing the economic challenges that are in front of us, and, you know, trying to get things back in. I think that was one of the most effective marketing platforms that I like to me personally in Norfolk County, to finding about new stuff that was going on, stuff that was happening. I think that's really great. Building off that and what Cindy had said, like a weekly update to business owners, just with any, or like even bi-weekly, or just whenever some like regulations change, if people could like subscribe to a Norfolk County newsletter to receive, you know, maybe this exists and I don't know about it, but like, you know, like I know for me, my industry, and like Wanda's probably in the same boat, like art, like with the event industry, every other week something changes pretty much in regulations, like more so than anywhere else. And I had other than me calling the health unit, I had zero information about it from Norfolk County. And we did have some quite specific rules to Norfolk County at different times on different things. So I think that just, you know, an email checking in and asking even for feedback and telling them if anything's changed, and just saying we're here for you, any updates on grants, just something to that's just like a simple version of knocking on doors, you know, that at least if you don't have time to knock on doors, that gets all the people at once kind of thing. And on the online ads that was mentioned at the very start by Amanda, I think is like that $50,000 that's sitting there left in the advertising budget, that Facebook ads is one of the best bangs for your buck you can get. I mean, I've seen so much more advertising of things that are happening in Brant County than Norfolk County, or Oxford County than Norfolk County, and I don't live there. So they're, you know, they're getting it out there in a great way. So yeah. Does anyone have any additional feedback that they forgot during their round? I think that covers all 4 questions actually for most people. But I'm just gonna, does anyone have more feedback on that? I'll just read through all 4 questions to see if that triggers anything else for anyone. But I think that covers most of the questions for everyone.
So just a thought, I think I mentioned it at when I was presenting at NSERT 2, some neighboring counties to your newsletter piece, they have a email subscribe list. And so you can subscribe to different elements of whatever are of interest to you. And then you just automatically get those emails until you unsubscribe. So might be something to look at. Brant, I subscribe to Brant counties because that's in my region. And I find it very helpful to keep up on what's going on there.
Yeah, that's great.
One of the other things too, I forgot to mention was the Simcoe Chamber has, I know like Mariana, she literally, I think part of her job description is to repost Facebook posts. So if she sees any businesses, whether I think even if they're not partners, they get reposted. And you know what? That's invaluable right now. Like if somebody else can, the more posts and shares and all that stuff you get, as long as it's getting out there, it seems like at least the Simcoe Chamber is trying to help their members.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And Michelle.
Yeah.
I would suggest that even if folks between now and Friday comes up with other ideas or so on, they can feel free to email them in. So even because I'm pretty sure that they may come across ideas that are in some other municipalities and so on. Feel free to email it in, and I will make sure that it is identified as coming from the TDAB submission, just the same.
For sure. I think there's one question that just might elicit, there's one more question on that list that just might elicit a little bit of different answers and just a little more information. I won't do it like go around to everyone, but if anyone has feedback, but this one makes me think a lot differently because this is how I plan for my business. If the pandemic were to continue for another 1 to 2 years, what specific actions or projects could the county undertake to help businesses in your industry with the challenges associated with an extended pandemic? So I think that is a lot different answer than what can the county do for now. Does anyone have any feedback on that specifically? Kind of, because I mean, I know most of if I think about most of what all of you guys do, at least half of your businesses would dramatically change. I hate to think about it too, guys, but that's what I'm planning for 2021.
So like in my retail case, we pivoted right to, as soon as this started in March, I started selling. It's really, it seemed almost old fashioned on Facebook, but I literally started posting. I took pictures every day, posted every day, and I did curbside pickup and porch drop-offs, and I was going bananas. I have now pivoted to an online Shopify store. I got a grant for it, and I have now installed the POS system. So I'm rolling that out like literally in 2 weeks to be ready for anything like this. And I think it goes back to the whole social media part of it, that if businesses are doing what they can online, it's got to be shared and sent out through the county as much as possible to support everybody. You know, real estate, even on that side, it's virtual too. We were doing it virtually. People were looking at homes without actually walking through them. So if there's some kind of platform that the county can give us to help push it out even further, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Wanda? Sorry, your hand is on Amanda's face. So I got confused on names for a second. So on my screen, it showed up on Amanda's face. I was like, I don't know what just happened. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Amanda. You know, I think about when the pandemic first arrived, and one of the challenges with the municipality that we learned and communication was protocols and parameters as to what could be said, as not to, as we adhere to the health advisories, but yet still be open for business. So we didn't really say anything for a while, and I know that became a very frustrating piece as businesses were trying to reopen or to stay in business. And I'm just wondering if there's any way to, through this process, to just find out what those parameters might be. So anything that encourages people to shop here, to come here, to visit here is going to, there's no risk in it not complying with the regulatory guidelines communicated through the health department and that leadership.
Great.
Does everyone remember that chapter? And we weren't really saying anything. And so I would think it would be nice for us to have regular communication through any kind of phase and longevity. So just not to shut down the conversation, but to continue that communication and to set up a path forward as to what that could look like, even if restrictions start to come into play again.
Great. Anyone else have anything? No. I guess mine for the 1 to 2 years from the manufacturing side, and I guess as just an employer in general, is dealing with the childcare crisis that currently exists. If you have people looking to come back to work, they can't. I know that firsthand. It's getting childcare for young children is virtually impossible right now if they weren't already enrolled pre-pandemic. And I don't have any kind of solution to that. I hate just coming up with a problem, but that's probably more of a provincial problem. But it's a huge struggle for like our my age, I guess, like, you know, mid-20s to mid-30s with young kids is really tough right now. Anyone else? Okay, we will move on to the TDAB tracking table. I just got to find it. Action items. Okay.
I think we've dealt
first. Sorry, go ahead. Who is? I don't know.
I think we've dealt with in dealing with some of these applications and so on. I think we've dealt with a few items on there.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think skills assessment survey. Oh, that was already on there, guys. Wow. So that's on there. So we'll, Jacob, I'm starting at the bottom of the list for some weird reason. Jacob, let me know if you need any assistance, and if you don't just have something on hand, if you need assistance making something like that up. It would be good to distribute, so we kind of take an inventory like Wanda suggested. The staff review past and current candidates, I would mark that as complete. That is done. PPE grant application, awaiting update from Chris on possible phase 2. I believe that has happened. Is that right? Oh, Nick?
Yes, but I have some, I still have some further updates. So on PPE.
Yep.
So there are three different announcements that were made, and I think it's timely what you guys have been saying about the newsletters that we usually send out and so on, and even without a newsletter, I will have to do a mass mailing where I outline some of these available grants. So the BRC, the Brantford Brant Resource Center, they have a PPE grant. The maximum amount is $2,500. And this coming Thursday, they're having some kind of an open house or to explain the application process and so on and so forth. So I'll ensure that we send that out in some time of communicate. Then Nick, I don't know if you sent me an email, and he might speak to it in a bit, but the Canada United Small Business Relief Fund, that's another one, $5,000 maximum each business, and that's open for intake at this time. So that again, I can send out to businesses. And then SWATC, I had given you an update on the first intake, and we have received confirmation that the second intake, they will have a second intake, $85,000 the total. The second intake will open on Tuesday, November the 24th at 10 a.m. in the morning. That one was always a maximum of $1,500. So there are a number of small grants out there for small businesses for PPE. And Zvi and I have had a conversation about this already. I'll be sending out some information to small businesses and also the presidents of the different organizations so that they can cascade it as well so that our businesses can apply for some of these grants.
Great. Recruiting new members. I feel like that one's done. And then climate change advisory committee board has completed its mandate. So that one's done as well. So we are done everything except our skills assessment survey. I don't think there's anything to add to it from this meeting. Does anyone have anything that I might not have thought of to add to the action item list?
So just on the skills assessment survey, I put a comment in the comment box. I'm not sure everybody can see that, but I think, didn't Christine Carey have a skills assessment that she
yes,
could use as a starting point, she suggested?
That is right. So maybe Jacob, reach out to Christine, because that is right. Our last discussion, that's totally true. Christine had suggested that she had something like that. Okay, so now let's maybe move over to Zvi with his additional item on the agenda.
Perfect. Okay, so as Chris mentioned briefly, we have engaged a consultant that their name is Cinnamon Toast, and they will be working with Norfolk County on what is broadly called a branding strategy. What this entails, again, the details will emerge as they go through the consultations, but primarily what we're looking for, what are our key differentiating assets in the community? Based on those key differentiating assets, what should be our target markets? We're looking to figure out, how do we become more effective? How do we punch above our weights? Given what we have in Norfolk, given the resources, the types of businesses, the types of assets, who should we be going after? How do we go after them? And how do we maximize how do we maximize our tourism strategically? How do we partner with the community, with the tourism community? And so some of the outcomes we're looking at increasing overnight stays. So yes, we end up with a brand, and not just a logo, but an entire brand that talks about how do you go out to message, what media do you use, what frequency. So we're looking at a brand, and we're looking at a brand strategy, And then we're looking on some feedback on things that we've done in the past, what has worked, what should we do more on. So as I started to say, our focus is on increasing overnight stays in the community, because for every overnight stay, you increase your revenue by about 3x. So if someone comes into the community, eats at a restaurant, that is significantly less than someone that stays at least one night over. And the more they can stay, the better. Now, we are obviously cognizant of COVID and what that means for deploying the strategy, but having that strategy in place will allow us to start thinking of the various parts that we can start deploying either now or later on. So increasing overnight stays, increasing number of stops in Norfolk. So a lot of times people drive right through Norfolk, letting people know what assets do exist here that they may not be aware of. Changing perceptions that, yes, there's one type of experience here, the agricultural, the Ontario's garden. What else is here, and how do we get those messages out? And then the last part is, how do we maximize, I've talked about assets, but what is already happening here? Without overplaying our hand, how do we maximize the large events that we don't currently control, but what can we do to leverage those, not necessarily on the day of Friday the 13th, for example, but engaging with some of those people there, the doctors, the lawyers, et cetera, and finding other ways to bring them back. They've been here once, they've seen one aspect of the community. What else can we do? But all of those things are tied together. The assets, the target markets, you know, the messaging, all of that will be tied together. So through that process, there will be a stakeholder engagement with TDAB, certainly, and then perhaps with individual members on a one-on-one basis. We had our kickoff meeting, as Chris alluded to, last week on Friday. So we started those conversations. We are now in the process of sending them to various brands, because there are a number of brands. There's, you know, the Ontario's South Coast, there's Norfolk, there's a number of brands that are out there. We're going to send them everything that's out there, let them see and start making sense of it. And so I'm just looking through my notes here. What does our brand mean to those that are within 90 minutes drive of Norfolk? How can the county be a more strategic partner to the tourism industry? Not necessarily always the lead, but how can we partner strategically? Where can we as a county add the most value, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the outcomes that we are looking for. It'll be a pretty quick turnaround. There's not a lot of time for this project. It's funded through RRRF dollars. That means we're looking for the project to be done sometime in January, latest February. So expect a consultation, and we'll give you the heads up, but Cinnamon Toast will be reaching out to the committee or to this board.
Great, thanks so much for sharing. Does anybody have any questions for Z? I don't see any hands. So I think with that, if there's nothing else, we are done. That is record time, guys. Wow, an hour, 20 minutes. Our next meeting, any other business? Any additional other business? No? Okay, meeting adjourned. Next meeting will be November 23rd at 5 p.m. Again, I'll be providing another update for you then on the Economic Recovery Task Force. And if you have any feedback on the questions, please send to Chris. The more feedback we can get, the better. I'm sure you guys will come up with lots of wonderful ideas after your mind gets rolling, as you're falling asleep tonight, maybe. And yeah, Zvi, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the ideas and the discussion that happened during this meeting was actually fantastic. Really good ideas, already made a ton of notes. I want to thank everybody here for that. That was actually really, really good.
Michelle, can I interrupt really quick?
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Laura, are you? Yeah.
No, Jacob's trying to interrupt.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Jacob.
There was one other thing that Chris had sent out that I forwarded to everybody with regards to the small business recovery program in Brantford, I believe. I don't know if Chris wanted to speak to that or if that was just something he hoped everybody could look at.
Yeah, I had spoken to it. It's a Brantford Resource Center PPE grant. It's the first one that I discussed, the $2,500 each.
Oh, yes. Okay. You just wanted to make sure. Okay. I was a little confused there, which is easy to do.
Yeah, my husband sent me that same article today. I actually had already read that whole thing. It looks pretty cool. Great. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your time, and we'll see you in a month.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Stay well. Bye.